Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another week of the Well Cafe. And I am so excited this week to be joined by the incredible Celina Mattocks. She is such a powerhouse woman and she is working on so many amazing things to kick off 2025. And I cannot wait to dive into them with you. So, to tell you a little bit more about Celina, she is an expert in leadership and organizational change and talent development. She spent the last 10 years traveling and working with C-suite and senior executives in fast-paced Fortune 500 environments. She earned her master's degree in organizational development and a dual bachelor's degree in communications and Spanish. She also considers herself to be a practitioner, scholar, and activator who is a leader and creates sustainable systems. She is an American via Argentina and Ireland, a mother of two, and I'll add in their two adorable kids. She is a fun weekend warrior and is based out of the DC metro area. And I will also add in my own little commentary that Celina is an absolute inspiration. I know from my own personal conversations and knowing you for the past, I guess, 2 years almost now at this
Yeah.
point, and just seeing all of the incredible things that you have done. So thank you for hopping on today.
Thanks for having me. That was a wonderful bio. I feel like I might be getting pink or red or something.
Okay, good. No, I want you to feel like the amazing superhero that you are because I think you have so much insight to share, which we will dive into. But I want to start out. You've had a big milestone change that happened at the end of 2024. So tell us a little bit how your life has shifted in the last 2 months, we'll call it.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, so if you've done something for 10 years and you're leaving that thing or changing that thing, I find that it was absolutely terrifying for me. So I appreciate anyone that goes through a major milestone change. I was with a company for 10 years, a fast-paced, globe-trotting, jet-setting, demanding all hours. You know how that life goes with corporate America. And it was fabulous. I was doing strategy work, I was doing management consulting work in the areas of the human side of tech change.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I have always in my blood felt that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. It was always in my destiny, and I just didn't know when the time was right. And the time is now. So I told my friends of 10 years and my leadership and my mentors and worried about what they were going to think about me. Like, and small businesses fail. And what makes you think you're going to be any different? And all
Yeah.
of these things running through my head. But the response from my colleagues and friends was absolutely overwhelming, just saying that they believed in me and they thought that this was a right step for me. And so I'm fully launching my company, Lead, Live, Learn, and focusing and concentrating the next 10 years on the growth and scaling of that company.
Which is also interesting. So many things. I mean, number one, it's amazing that you are taking this leap. And I know the work that you're going to do is going to continue to be incredible and impacting so many lives. And even just looking back, at the last 10 years, how much change has occurred in that space, right? You've had not only a global pandemic, but if we're talking about essentially 2014 to 2024, that time frame, you've had changes in AI, rapid changes in technology. I mean, you have seen so much that has occurred in that time frame. Are there two or three memories that really stand out to you of
Mm.
that make you feel prepared, I will say, to take this jump?
Well, there are things that I've learned, I guess, through the Industrial 4.0, where we're at now in terms of tech. And one is that if you have a strong digital core, meaning that your processes are streamlined and can connect so that you can see your business clearly, then you can grow and you'll be able to grow effectively and efficiently without too much overhead. So a strong digital core is something I learned from going, I don't know how many clients in the C-suite I've been in all over the country and the world at this point. And the second thing is that I believe that about 75% of work can be done remotely at this point. The pandemic proved it. Um, Not only that, but there were some business rationales alongside it, where if you can turn your video on, you can still create a connection without the travel fees and associated costs for projects to bring people everywhere. So the reason I say 75% is the other 25% of in person is as or more strong than that 75% because you cannot remove the in-person experience
Yeah.
for all of the soft or hard skills. I say they're the hardest skills, which is
Yeah.
feeling the person, feeling their energy, understanding their gestures and trustworthiness and um, really knowing a person. So you can get along with a person virtually, but you absolutely need to meet them in person in your life if you want to solidify that relationship. And then, did you say I had to do three?
No, if you want to stop it too, I mean, I think those were both fantastic because, and it's also interesting too that you say with the second point of not removing human connection, because during the pandemic, yes, we can and we continued to grow and thrive for the most part, depending on your business virtually. But there is something too, like those small little mannerisms that you can't pick up, or I liked how you said it, like the nuances of someone's hand gestures or their,
Right.
like something some it always surprises people. I'm really short. So when I meet people in person, they're shocked by it. And I'm like, that's such a big part of my life, oddly, and day to day, because but no one would know that. And it's like those little things that you don't realize if you've I noticed it too with interns, if they aren't in the corporate, if they didn't work in an office pre-COVID, it's a very different learning pattern than those that were.
Absolutely. I mean, that in itself is a full discussion of
Yeah.
how the new hires and the junior resources are experiencing work.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's difficult, and it's like there are small things that I've noticed too, even just having interns. I've had virtual interns and I'm like, there are things I would love to teach you that even I still remember learning as an intern that stay with me to this day, that I it's hard to teach. Like, here's how the right way to answer the phone. Here's the right way to like put folders together for like it sounds silly, but it's a lot of basic things. And I love that you're right, we can do 75% of this virtually, and then we need that 25 as the icing on the cake.
Great.
So let's talk a little bit about too. We're at the start of a new year and you're at the start of a new journey. So you and I have talked a lot about putting together your dream life, your financial dream life, and also living life to the fullest. And I think that is something that you do very well. You and I have a shared love of travel. So how are you bringing this into your new company and everything you're doing going forward?
Yes. So, and just to finish that last in-person like connection
Yeah,
point
please.
real quick, uh, you and I met in Puerto Rico in person. That's the first time we met at that
Mhm.
conference. And it was because I met you and I heard you talking that I was like, I can trust this woman with my millions.
Thank you.
And
But
I
it's that
left.
energy.
Yeah, because I could connect with it from a
Yeah.
soul to soul level.
Yeah.
So, but going back to New Year and possibilities and bringing in the financial and living intentionally into 2025. I've been preparing for this moment. I've always kept some money aside for the time that is now that would allow me to have a pretty nice buffer to be able to continue to live the lifestyle that I have. And then, I've had very deep discussions with my husband about, okay, well, what happens when that point comes if you're not fully replacing your salary at this point? What are our additional steps? And so we've talked through some of that with the hopes that that'll never have to happen because of the business planning and all of the financial aspects. But because frankly, financial freedom is one of my drivers in life. And that's not with my husband. That's me being able to be free myself, no matter what circumstances happen. So the way that I've been able to achieve that is through living intentionally. And so it's a mild obsession with structure. It's a constant thought in my mind of where does this go? How am I using my time financially or otherwise to be able to indulge in some little things like Instagram impulse purchases that I need. But imagine if you couldn't do that,
Mhm.
And I, at a 22-year-old stage, told myself when I almost married a man and it didn't work out, I told myself, I never want to be in a position where I can't have something because of money.
Mm. Yep.
Money should not be on the table as a decision-making factor for me. So I spent quite several years making sure that those pieces are put into place.
And that's also a great, it breaks it down because yes, we can sit here and I can do every episode of the Wealth Cafe and talk about like, all right, here's how to strategically manage this, that, and the other thing. But it's also a mindset, right? And there's a lot of things that mentally go behind it. And I think this is where you and I also, our opinions are so well aligned because I feel the same way. For me, it's that I never want to sit here and say, okay, can I not make this donation? Can I not grab this cup of coffee? Like, I want to be able to just do those things and not have to check a bank account, which I know is not everyone's circumstance. And that's why, to me, like part of it is like I always want to be able to give back and have that intentionality behind it. And to me, that's financial freedom. It's not, I don't need a jet. Like personally, like I just don't like I am not a planes person, I'm not a cars person, but like there are some things in my life. So I'd love to hear from you. What are the things you mentioned Instagram purchase? What are some other intentional ways that you live, spend, that focus on? I know it's a good
It's
question.
a hard question. What are some of the ways that I focus on building wealth or focus on spending?
Ooh, let's do both.
Oh my gosh.
Well, let's back into it, right? So let's talk a little bit about spending, right? Because I always, whenever I sit down with people, I'm always like, okay, there's the things that like I will always buy this or I will always do that. Like, what are things for you that are non-negotiable?
A vacation every winter, a vacation every summer.
Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely. Um, I mean, I like first class on a plane.
That's part of being,
I've been traveling for a long time.
yeah,
Um, and I need a new dress for a wedding.
in this world, I think we go to so many that it's like you can only wear them 1 to 2 times before it gets, they don't hold up anymore.
I think also if my family needs anything,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna get it from me. And they know that they can get it, and I don't feel like they take advantage of it, but it's there. Um, there's been a couple of really good memories built off of that. And I mean, my kids have everything that they could possibly need, and I feel like amazed at that because when I was growing up, I was one of five, and my parents were very young when they had us. So it was not that way at all. There were just too many people running around the house. Like there weren't vacations. We never went out to eat. Um, so like, it for me, it's like making sure that my kids have all that they need with limitations of you don't need that excess. The
Yeah.
excess is unnecessary. and I don't want them to become spoiled
Mhm.
because of that. So that's important to me too.
I think that's a great example of it too, especially I appreciate you sharing growing up because I find that so many, especially in our generation, there's so many people who we have a lot of these stories where I grew up this way and I don't want A, I don't want to continue living that way, and B, I don't want my kids to grow up that way. And it's,
Hmm.
it's one of those things where, I told you, it's like I want to be able to go to the food store and say, ooh, I really want X, Y, and Z tonight and be able, and I'm not out there buying caviar and truffles. And, even if I did, I'm just thinking, I'm like, I want a steak tonight. And that's what I'm going to go do. And, be able to do it and provide quality, healthy food is always a big one.
That's a good one. That's really great. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's also dive into New Year. What are some things based on the experience that you have with working through so many different people in your incredible career? What are some things that people can really do to start off, and we always say like start off the new year strong, get ahead of it.
Mm.
And we're already, over a week into January, and you'll probably see most, I don't know what the statistic is off my head, but everyone's going to stop going to the gym. Everyone's going to start, drinking again, and we all give up on our resolutions. So, what are things that people can continue to do to live intentionally in the experience that you have?
Thanks. I just want everyone out of my gym. They
Yeah.
overcrowd my gym. You're not going to stay here.
Yeah.
So let me have my machines back, please.
You're like, this is
Um,
my machine. I have been here for the other 363 days. Thank you. I feel the
Actually,
same way.
if I look at it, where are we at? Oh my God. Well, I guess it is only early January, but I last year I had like 200 visits. That's pretty
No
good.
way. That's incredible.
Um, so I love the subject of productivity.
Mhm.
And that to me is a foundational element of good habits and making those incremental changes that will make a big difference in your life. So this is the right time to attempt those changes
Mm.
if there are changes that you want to make. And so there are lots of productivity books out there. My method is the Bliss method that is part of this new release book, Rise and Find, which you can find more information in the book about it as well as on my website at leadlivelearn.com, and you can download a free productivities tools checklist for all things at home
Mm.
and work, that can help you become more productive. Because what happens if you become more productive, all of a sudden you find that there's more space mentally and physically for the things that you want to ultimately make your dreams come true. So my recommendation is to incrementally start with your habits first. And, you need to be honest and really assess, are you having too many glasses of wine at night? Are you not making it to the gym? Are you over caffeinated and you're not feeling good? Are you doom scrolling 30 minutes before your bedtime and then your mind's going and then you're not sleeping well? Like, be honest to yourself
Mm.
about what you're doing wrong if you're not feeling well. And then those are the first places to attack first.
And we'll make sure to link both your website, and we'll be putting the link on Amazon to the book here too. So they'll be in the show notes. And I love the concept of being honest with yourself, right? And I think that's something, it's almost a little taboo in our society, right? We are very quick to and it's funny, I still remember because the professor was so terrible in college, would not let us live down this whole concept of when something goes well, we take credit for it. And when something doesn't go well, we always find someone else to blame. And
Mm.
so that's really stuck with me. And he's right, unfortunately. And having that honesty with yourself of, okay, well, am I the one that went and picked up this food at the food store? Am I the one who's not putting my phone down? Am I the one not waking up even 20 minutes, right, at the gym? And I think we also, on top of that honesty, we all go to extremes. And it's always like, you and I have laughed about I can't go get my it's now really $7 for a cup of coffee, let's be honest. It's that people think it's,
X.
I have to cut off every cup of coffee out. I'm like, why can't it be more steady? Or if that's your thing, go for, all for it. But there is like some steadiness and having a cadence to our
Mhm.
productivity.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think that's part of that intentionality that a lot of us miss.
Yeah.
So can you give us a little bit of a teaser into the Bliss method and your chapter in Rise and Find?
Yes. So, I'm not a Pollyanna in saying that you need to be super over the top happy all the time through this bliss method. It is just a way for you to be more productive and feel more accomplished and feel better every day. And so the B stands for building your boundaries.
Mm,
The it stands for living intentionally, so using technology intentionally. The I is for igniting action and urgency. And the S is strengthen your daily structure.
mm,
And the last S is savor your personal space. And so I take my clients through a couple of questions in each area, and I have them describe to themselves what they're doing compared to how they would prefer to be doing in each of those areas, and then use technology tools um, to hold themselves accountable. We were just talking about personal accountability
mhm.
in order to have lasting change.
And I think that's an incredible way to break it down because it also allows you to change your relationship with tech. Like as you go through the acronym right now, as I've read it, over the last couple of years, different things have stood out to me. But right now, to me, it's the whole using your tech intentionally, right? We always see it as either the thing that's going to be there or oh, it's the thing where I'm doom scrolling. It's like, well, what if you can use it to your advantage and to be productive and, rather than it owning you, you own it the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, and there are those locks. You can actually lock yourself out after a certain amount of time if you can't control it. But but yeah, there are so many ways to excite yourself
Hmm.
with tech. I mean, from the health factor, Noom, get yourself weighing yourself every day. It sends you these inspirational messages, and it just gets you into the habit of documenting what food you're eating because then you can't lie to yourself. You see the calorie count right there, and then you see the data over time and you see the weight go down. And so, that's an app, right? That's a single app we're talking about. But anything you can possibly want to track and measure over time, you can
Yeah.
now. And it's fascinating and it's amazing. And ChatGPT can help you write faster if you're a writer. And um, Microsoft Copilot can help you summarize an entire meeting without having to touch a
Yes.
keyboard. And it's just amazing. It's amazing where we're at today.
You told me about some of the Copilot things, and I'm very excited to start trying them this year and see, okay, what is and how do we use it to our advantage, right? It's seeing, okay, these things can take over the world. And yes, there's always going to be negatives, but how do we use it to collect the data and track and move forward rather than letting it control us?
Hmm. Yes, responsible AI is important.
Yes, that's a whole other show. That's our next.
Yes.
The one last thing too I wanted to touch on to wrap up our conversation today is your first book was incredible. It's called 54 Flights. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I think it's amazing too. A lot of the conversations we try to have here are there isn't a lot of transparency when it comes to women in the workplace and what it looks like to balance, and right, that's kind of the in quotations word there, um, working and motherhood and that whole journey. And so 54 Flights was about the 54 flights that you took while you were pregnant with your first child. And so what are some things that you can just share for anybody who is either growing their family or is in a similar position where they're working in this very, I don't want to say time consuming, but you did travel a lot, right? And that's hard to be away from family. Like what can you share for other women listening to this about trying to quote unquote do the whole balance it all act that you've learned
Yeah.
since the book?
Yeah, it is so hard. It is so hard. And we put so much pressure on ourselves to do great in all aspects of each of the roles. And so, giving yourself grace first off is the most important. Um, and also using my bliss method because
Yeah.
it will allow you to see your day as a series of a couple of major important critical items to get done. And then you're done. And everything else is a bonus on top of that. And it's manageable. So if you can start thinking about your day in terms of your work and your home and your health and your finances and your fun, those five main areas, and you just do all five a little bit, then you will see big gains in your life in terms of your contentment. Um, Traveling is very tough. Thank God for WhatsApp and thank God for all of the
Yeah.
FaceTime messages and all of that with the family. They do, in some corporate environments, have the ability now to travel your family with you depending on the length of the project.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they
That's
also
crazy.
have what they call milk stork programs for new moms to be able to have their milk shipped
Mhm.
overnighted to the babies, which thankfully that is something that was used quite a lot. And I would just say that we're all our own personality, and you have to make sure that what you're doing is in alignment with who you are and it's something that's bringing you joy. Because if you find yourself in a career and you're not feeling fulfilled and you're feeling pulled, like it's taking you away from the type of work that you want to do and the people you want to associate with, whether that's the people in your company or your family, then you need to readjust. Management consulting is not for everyone. It is a very intensive environment. So you have to be a certain type of person. I guess that's all I can say.
It's also it is there's then that kind of if you're not being fulfilled by the work that you are doing or it's not something you're passionate about. I remember having and it translates and spills over into other areas of your life. And so I love that when
Mm,
you talk about the bliss method too, you're also focusing on those different areas of your life because when you have one, not everything is going to be the perfect balance every day, but when you have that one area that's incredibly out of whack, we'll say, it
yeah,
spills into the others. And I remember, having
yeah,
that at a point in my life when I was, working in Manhattan and it
yeah,
spilled over into everything.
yeah.
And
And I remember you telling me that your friend, when you left, said that he had never seen you this happy.
yeah,
Like he didn't even know that was you
yeah, that I
anymore.
existed.
Yeah. I mean, and it it can happen and it happens a lot. I see it a lot.
Yeah.
I definitely see that a lot. But um I mean, it's just been an incredible ride with the 54 flights. And then it was you who I was talking to when I was feeling the urge to write again. And I
Okay.
went back into my travel portal and saw that I had just hit 108, no, yeah, 108 flights since that point that I had written 54 flights. So it was like double, I think I'm doing my math right. It was double the amount of flights I had done since I had had my first child. And it was like my soul was telling me it was time to write again.
Like the
And then
follow-up is here.
yeah, and then we come out and Rise and Find is the product of that beautiful moment. So
Yeah. And now you can get your physical copies. We have Kindle, paperback, and hardcover all available. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'll link that in the show notes. But I like to ask everybody a final question, and it stumps them every time. So I have to ask it.
Oh,
What is
geez.
one thing that you do every day that makes you feel wealthy?
That makes me feel wealthy.
Yeah, wealthy and empowered, and we'll even loop it back to our previous, conversation here of financially free.
I
It can be,
pull an angel oracle guide card every morning,
oh,
and it's always a message that I need to hear for that day.
I love it. And I love that for two reasons. Number one, I think there's a lot of empowerment and wealth that comes with time, right? They're very they intersect all the time. So you're giving yourself that time of no, before I start my day, I'm gonna pause and pull this card and see what I need to hear to make sure I am ready for the day. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to hear what today's was. I
What was today's?
was gonna say, is it
Today's
something
was
good? Is it something about our conversation?
it was power and intention.
Ooh,
And it said that there's going to be some um, distraction that you're going to need to wade through to make sure that you stay focused on the task at hand.
I like it. It's a good one, especially too, I mean, in this time of year, it's very fitting. So, well, where can everybody find you if they want to connect with you, work with you, and learn more about you?
I am at leadlivelearn.com. You can find me on Instagram at Celina Mattocks. You can find me on LinkedIn at Celina Mattocks. You can find me on X at Celina Ryan 1. That's my maiden name. And you can find me on YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel. So I'm everywhere.
I love it. And we'll make sure we have links for all of those down here at the bottom. And thank you so much for joining us for this amazing conversation. And I cannot wait to see all of the incredible things that you and Lead Live Learn do this year. And it's going to be fabulous.
Thank you so much for having me on the Wealth Cafe.
Of course.
Bye.